Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles, where today Kodiak 03 is returning to the game after a prolonged absence. He didn't say exactly how long he'd been away from World of Warships, but several months at least. And this is the first game that he played in his French Tier 8 destroyer, Le Terrible. I'm probably mispronouncing that. Le Terrible. Quick note about the name of this boat, by the way. That doesn't mean it's shit. That's not why the French called it that, even though that's the joke. It's terrible in the same sense as, for example, Ivan the Terrible, the Russian emperor. Terrible in the sense that it inspires terror, that kind of terrible. That's what the word used to mean very long ago. Obviously now it means you're kind of shit, but that's... Anyway, you get the idea. That's why it's called what it is. One thing that is not terrible about this ship is its speed. Kodiak has the engine boost running, and he's doing more than 50 knots. He's also doing something extremely unusual. He's communicating with his team. Now, this is not something that you tend to see on the EU server. That's more of a North American server thing, where it is very, very common. But he's asking the carrier on his team, because, of course, there's a carrier and a submarine, although one less of each than he had in his previous battle, which he mentioned at the beginning. But he's asked the carrier, can you come up and spot Charlie, please? Because one thing that is terrible about the Terrible is its concealment. It has, well, you can see looking at the circle around the ship on the minimap, more than 7 kilometers surface detection range. That is truly shit. Also, doesn't have a smoke screen. So some kind of eyes on whoever is flipping the cap up here at Charlie, as requested, would be useful. Instead, of course, the carrier is going for the central cap at Bravo, although he's probably flying over that, even by accident, the central cap at Bravo that isn't currently being flipped by the enemy team. But that's all right. The Ignacio Allende on the team has triggered his radar. Too far to the south to actually cover the cap circle. So Kodiak is forced to take matters into his own hands in order to prevent the enemy team from flipping that cap circle. An extremely dangerous move in a destroyer with stealth as bad as this, and no smokescreen. The only thing he knows is he has to do it, or the enemy team will take that cap. Oh shit, there's an Alaska. Enemy radar. Oh great, just what we needed. So, yeah, he's keeping a careful eye on how far away that Alaska is, and he's letting the team know that he's going to have to bail as soon as the Alaska's within radar range. So any kind of support and assistance up here would be greatly appreciated. Yep, definitely an enemy destroyer in here. There it is, the Minsk. Now, the Minsk was not spotted because the Buffalo used his radar. I mean, the Buffalo did use his radar, but again, it was too far south to actually reveal the location of the Minsk. The Minsk was spotted because he started shooting at something, and this is good news. Because the Minsk is probably the only destroyer in this battle tier that Kodiak outspots. But hang on a minute. Ein Minuten bitte. Uno momento, por favor. Yes, I'm mangling every language available here. The Minsk has been forced out of the cap circle. Neither the Alaska nor the Georgia are in the cap circle, and yet it is still contested. There's another destroyer here. What the fuck is the Ignacio doing? Why would you broadside on, pinned up against an island in front of a Georgia and an Alaska? Hang on, I need to take control of the camera here. Because that guy just signed his own death warrant. Where is he? How is he not dead? How the hell did he get away with that? Oh, no, he's gotten away with it again. Wow. Here's the thing about that ship, though. He's definitely close enough to radar this entire cap circle now, but he had just used his radar, but it gets a special consumable. It's more like a super ship consumable, in that when you start scoring hits on enemy ships, and presumably he's been shooting at something, you can activate this new consumable to reduce the cooldown on all of your consumables, so you could effectively use your radar again almost instantly. And yet, despite the fact that there is clearly another destroyer in this cap circle, one which has thus far gone unspotted and undetected, he's not. So, honestly, there's the Minsk again. Would anybody like to shoot that guy? And there was a lot more torpedoes. Wait a minute, those torpedoes did not come from the Minsk. The Minsk would have had to have been heading in the other direction for those to have been his torpedoes. So the other enemy destroyer has to be up by that island somewhere. Would anybody like to radar him? Anyone? I mean, you've got a Buffalo, you've got an Ignacio, and we have a Missouri, a battleship with radar. And it's only now, when the Buffalo pops off his radar again, that the Fletcher, who was lurking up there the entire time, and basically reversed out from cover at the precise moment when the Buffalo was only 6.1 kilometers away from him anyway, and heading in his direction. Now the Fletcher has 5.8 kilometer stealth at best. That Fletcher basically outed himself. The fact that the Buffalo fired up his radar at the same time does not mean that the Buffalo was using his radar appropriately. Okay, the Fletcher's down. The cap circle is finally uncontested. How the fuck can a Fletcher have been hiding in concealment behind that small island up there this entire time with 3 radar and a carrier, and only got spotted when he was about to get visually detected anyway? No help from the carrier either, of course. You know, the one cap circle that was contested, he continues to send his aircraft over the only cap circle that the team actually control. Just try to wrap your heads around this concept for the moment, as Kodiak attempts to ninja a second kill. Oh, there's the Minsk again. The Fletcher basically sat there contesting this cap circle for 7 minutes, despite the presence of 3 radars and a carrier, and was only spotted when he reversed out from behind cover in visual detection range anyway. The Missouri's using his radar now, too far away to detect the Minsk. After the Fletcher had died, the Missouri uses his radar when he's too far. What the fuck, man? I mean, really? The Missouri is also having a go in chat about how dumb the Buffalo is. Admittedly, the Buffalo hasn't actually done anything useful. He hasn't been much use to the team alive, but, you know, pot, kettle, radio check over. Although that was a very, very nice dodge. It turns out you can just dodge air attacks, even in a battleship the size of the Missouri. Oh, Kodiak's spotted again, so, you know, Minsk that way. Oh, here comes the Alaska. Broadside on, point blank range, in front of the Missouri. I mean, to be fair to the Alaska, he doesn't have a lot of choice. He's got enemies coming around behind him. He needs to motor on out of there. But he should not survive this. The Alaska is still just a cruiser, albeit a cruiser with very, very big guns, but it's just a cruiser. It's got cruiser armor, it's got cruiser citadel, and that's a Missouri, and it's got 16-inch guns. And somehow the Alaska survives long enough, and yes, there's the Minsk as well, that it is in fact the torpedoes, the rather slow torpedoes, that Kodiak launched a minute ago, that finish him off. The Minsk, very fast ship with its engine boost running, trying to make a run for it, not watching where he's going, straight into the wreck of the Alaska, sitting duck. And it's the Missouri who gets him. And with that, they finally won this flank and cap circle. But man, they were making it hard for themselves. I mean, no criticism of Kodiak implied or intended. The fact that he managed to pretty much single-handedly stave off that cap circle from being captured by the enemy team in a ship with terrible stealth and no smokescreen. Notwithstanding that, however, I do have a couple of questions about what it was that we just witnessed. Chiefly, how in the name of fuck did that Fletcher manage to go undetected for as long as it did, contesting the cap circle for as long as it did, when there was clearly another destroyer there, in the presence of not 1, not 2, but 3 radars and an aircraft carrier. Admittedly, not actually with the presence of an aircraft carrier, because the friendly carrier had far, far better things to do where it didn't actually matter. Also, bear in mind, the team weren't exactly pitting their wits against Admiral Horatio Nelson here or anything. That Fletcher actually reversed out from his concealment when he was 6.1 kilometers away from an incoming Buffalo. and was going to be visually spotted by outing himself within seconds anyway. Oh look, 2 ships with radar closing in. I know what I'll do. I'll wait until they're within 6 kilometers of me, and then I'll reverse out from behind my concealment so they can all see me plain as day. I must admit, I did not actually see that coming. And they do say that 9/10 of warfare is the element of surprise. And that Fletcher definitely surprised me. And yet the Fletcher still managed to stay hidden for 7 minutes when it was clear to anybody capable of thinking and breathing at the same time, or even reading the battle chat because Kodiak told them that there was another destroyer there. But the most amazing thing by far is that this team, most of whom would clearly have severe problems finding their own arse in the dark without a flashlight, a map, and written instructions, are still winning. Which begs the question, just how bad were the enemy team? I mean, they're not just winning, right? There are only 3 enemy ships left. Although one of them has just managed to pull a kill back. The Sinop over there just nailed the Buffalo. But honestly, with this, I mean, this isn't an episode of A Game of Throws, so don't expect any kind of dramatic reversal. There's the carrier, the Pobeda. It's one of those Russian carriers. So it only gets 1 strike, but it's balanced around only getting 1 strike. So it does all of its damage up front. Torpedoes out against the Sinop. This is actually really good. You see that? 1 set of torpedoes to the rear, 1 set of torpedoes in front. At the moment, the Sinop is reversing. But he sees Kodiak. So what's he going to start doing? He's going to change his course and speed. This is good. It shows that the Sinop at least is capable of thinking and breathing at the same time. Because when you see a destroyer, you do not sail the same course and speed. But Kodiak took that into account. So he laid torpedoes both ahead and behind. That was smart. The Sinop was smart. Kodiak was smarter. Unfortunately, being smart doesn't help you against skip bombs. Holy shit, did you see the amount of damage he took from that? Knocked out a gun turret, set him on fire, and shaved 1/3 of his health off in a single strike. Kodiak just faced off against a Minsk, a Fletcher, an Alaska, a Georgia, a Sinop, and he was absolutely fine. But the instant he got noticed by the enemy carrier, he loses a gun turret, 1/3 of his health, and he gets set on fire. And now the carrier's coming back with the torpedo bombers. I mean, this is a fast ship, but it's also big by destroyer standards. The carrier's down. That just leaves 1 surviving enemy. But, well, down in a carrier doesn't mean out. At least, he only gets to do this once. Slams on the brakes, hard turn. Not the most manoeuvrable of destroyers, but from hell's heart I spit at thee, says the carrier. Yeah, well, spit harder, says Kodiak. And that just leaves the enemy Iowa. Now, he's a fair old distance away, but, well, with the engine boost running, you'll do more than 50 knots in this thing. There is a potential for a kill steal here. It'd be nice to get another kill, although it would just be his 4th kill. There's no Kraken Unleashed up for grabs here for a 5th kill, so it's not a matter of life and death. Well, it is for the Iowa. Speaking of which, the Iowa's healing. Oh, this is good. He might survive long enough for Kodiak to get to within range. But when you're being farmed by a King George V and a Lion, both of whom are known for having rather nasty high explosive shells, popping your heel just means you're giving them more damage and XP and only delaying the inevitable. So, Kodiak 03 in the French Tier 8 Destroyer the Terrible. Away from the game, don't forget, for many, many months. Although he clearly hasn't forgotten what to do or how to do it, although several of his teammates clearly have, and they don't have the excuse of being away from the game that he does. So, yeah, I think I've said everything that needs to be said about that battle, although I'm sure you lot have something to say as well, and if that's the case, you know where the comment section is. Off you go. In the meantime, hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.